I think if you ask most prosecutors who are dealing with multiple defendants, and in this particular case there were at least 4, it is extraordinarily difficult to clear the fog of a fight. I've covered cases before where there were a number of, believe it or not, off-duty police officers involved with beating up a young man. The evidence was overwhelming that they were involved, but not one of them could get a conviction because it was just too difficult to determine who did what. And in this particular case, Mr. Pekarsky, it was alleged that he was the one who delivered the fatal kick, but the other defendants had suggested otherwise. Some had said one thing, others had said another.
We've been talking a lot about, hate crime, and this was initially deemed as a hate crime. And what do they call it there, Ashley? Is it ethnic intimidation?
Call it ethnic intimidation. Every state has a different, can have a different version of the wording, but essentially it's the same thing.
Yeah, for Pennsylvania, it's ethnic intimidation. When it comes to hate crime laws, as I was saying to our viewers before you joined us, it's really tough to prove because there's no federal hate crime law. How long has it been since Matthew Shepard, and that legislation is still languishing?
It is. It's been 10 years since Matthew Shepard died in Laramie, Wyoming, and since then his mother, Judy, has forged an incredible fight to try to get some kind of federal legislation in place. And it's been languishing only because it's had several go-rounds within the House and the Senate, and no one seems to be able to sort of come to some sort of consensus. And I think, there was even giant news made this week about a Republican congresswoman named Virginia Foxx of North Carolina, who even went so far as to declare that the Matthew Shepard case itself might have been a hoax with regard to hate crime legislation. She said she chose the wrong wording, but what she meant to say was that since Matthew Shepard's case wasn't a hate crime, because it didn't exist in Wyoming, that perhaps this wasn't necessarily the right case to peg a federal hate crime bill on.
Ashley, as someone who's on both sides here, you cover the legal part of it, but you're also a journalist as well, and people may be wondering, why are they spending so much time on this? It's because this case involves so many aspects of our society when it comes to hate crimes, race, the economy, a number of different issues here. And if this goes to the Justice Department, these are going to be federal charges, and it could set a precedent for other cases like it.
Let me tell you something. There is another defendant in this case who actually already pled out on this, and he pled to federal civil rights violations. So, number one, I think there may be a potential for further litigation in this particular case with regard to the federal civil rights violations. But number two, you bet your bottom dollar, Don, that I will bet you someone's going to come up with some kind of civil case against these former defendants. For one thing, for sure, there's no double jeopardy here. You can't try them again on these same crimes, but they can certainly find themselves in a civil case.